Hey there, my name is Alex. I am the Silver Mont, and in this video we're going to take a look at the trailer for Dragon's Dogma 2 that just dropped. A game I'm very excited for, having been anticipating a sequel for the last 10 years or so. Well, let's start with the quote at the beginning of the trailer. "Conviction is the human will attained to its greatest power." I had to Google translate that, but it gets the point across, and that's a very fitting quote for Dragon's Dogma. Moving on, we have two characters riding what appears to be a giant griffin. It is substantially larger than the enemy griffin that shows up later in the trailer. I'm assuming we won't be able to fly around on flying mounts in the game, but that'd be fun, and you never know. A tower that strongly resembles the Blue Moon Tower. Is that Gran Soren too? See, in the past, in the original Dragon's Dogma, the Blue Moon Tower was far to the north of Gran Soren. Whilst the location is similar, the two structures looking at each other across water, the direction seems to be swapped. Another possibility is that we are looking at a city that is north of the Blue Moon Tower. With how strongly it resembles it, however, I suppose that does largely confirm we are in the same world, and at least part of the game will be set in Grancis. The city and its outlying areas do rather resemble Gran Soren, where all roads lead, at any rate. The Red Mountains are interesting. Could they be the entrance or part of a neighbouring kingdom? Perhaps this is where the Cat Lady's Empress is from. We see a cactus in a later shot, which is not something you'd expect to see in Grancis. Well, maybe we'll fly to another kingdom after escaping jail in Grancis and return later. Who knows? We do know that the game begins in some sort of underground jail, though. We also have in this shot an ox cart and what appears to be a harpy. Will we be able to kick the ox again? This man's shield, or the crest on it in particular, is very similar to the Gran Soren shield. There are a few slight differences, but it's near enough to suggest that it is indeed the emblem of Gran Soren. Pawns retain their hand marking, and this scene is a lot like the one wherein Rook introduces himself. Or, well, it looks like it is. We also see our first Beastman character, the lion-looking dude. Whether you want to call him a Hrothgar or a Khajiit, well, until we know their official name, I'll just call them Cat, I guess. These beast races were a feature considered for the original Dragon's Dogma. There is a concept art of various player characters, one of which was a hulking lion guy. These seem a little more human in size, but I imagine they'll be customizable if you're playing as one. This armoured cat is standing in an area that reminds me of the encampment where we first fought the Hydra. I wonder if he's some sort of master at arms, a sergeant who trains you in combat. He has that kind of look, don't know why. This spooky looking dude certainly gives Elysian vibes. Could he be someone who worships the dragon, or something more? He does have that special eye and a bit of a phantasmal quality to him, so, well, he probably won't be a friend, is my guess. The Arisen here seems to be a fighter, if we're using Dragon's Dogma 1 terms. Either way, he's using Blink Strike on a goblin, whilst the pawn, a strider, a ranger, uses what I believe is a new jump back shot ability. Our warrior here looks like he's using the scale coat or something similar to it as he cleaves through those stinky goblins. Yennefer has abandoned The Witcher and decided it's Dogma time. What I'm assuming is a ranger in this next shot, fighting a recurring golem creature from the first game, looking a lot more bombastic than the original with that new laser. The ranger appears to lack any other weapons besides the bow. Same with the pawn from like the last shot, only a bow. Does that mean there's no more ranged and melee, or are they just not visible on the model? Who knows? The next shot is super interesting. Whilst you might argue the weapon the character is holding is just a staff, coincidentally shaped kind of like a two-ended spear, the way he's holding it whilst using what appears to be some sort of anti-gravity magic, like almost like a force push when he slams those goblins into the cactus, whatever. makes me think this is something new, and it doesn't seem to directly correspond to any of the classes from Dragon's Dogma Online. Not that I ever played it, but I looked at clips, and there was a Spirit Lancer in that, I think that's what it's called, but this seems a little different. After all, we see a Sorcerer in the trailer, and I think a Mage, but this short montage, I mean, it seems to be showing a selection of vocations, so why would they show the same one twice there? So, my guess is this is something new. Case in point, as to showing, the other classes or vocations, this is clearly a Magic Archer, one of the best classes from the original. And here's what looks like a mage using something akin to the Magic Archer's Magical Flare, Magical Gleam. But is this primarily a light source spell, or is the Radiance merely a byproduct of the spell used to light up dark areas? Either way, I love to see the Dark Knights back, something that always felt rather unique to Dragon's Dogma. Nighttime could be a lot more dangerous, especially if you didn't bring light sources. As with that spear-like weapon, this incense burner, this, what's the term, censer, it's making me assume this is another new vocation, which clearly uses magic of some sort. If this is a censer, this would imply maybe a cleric type of vocation to me. It's hard to say what exactly they are doing in front of that Cyclops, other than creating some sort of misty, magical aura. Can it be used to cross gaps? Is this cleric thing a area debuffer? Almost like the Mystic Knight? Maybe this is Mystic Knight using a new weapon they have. Then we have the Sorcerer, or the Sorcerer equivalent, casting, what was it called, Belied? I'm not sure how you pronounce it, but it's everyone's favourite, the Meteor spell. Dragon's Dogma always had some of the coolest magic spells, visually at the very least, in games, and I'm sure we'll get some more insane new ones too. I'm really looking forward to seeing, again, I forget what it was called. Was it Frigor? The one where you met like giant ice spikes? I never really played Sorcerer, but I sure liked having Sorcerer pawns and watching them do crazy things like that. This is presumably Grand Sorin, a statue of the Dragon Slayer, the Duke, having slain a dragon with what either looks like a spear or that two-ended spear weapon from earlier. But I'd love to have a spear vocation in the game, because you know me, I like spears. Whilst not identical, the city seems close enough to what we know of Grand Sorin. And if the city is, I don't know, being rebuilt now and then because of big old Everfall holes opening up, then it would make sense it doesn't look exactly the same. Then we briefly see that monster mounting is still in, of course, followed by what looks like a fighter pawn and a strider or assassin type using the springboard combination to launch the dagger user onto that ogre, whilst the warrior pummels it. I'm assuming this isn't an elder ogre too. The AI was really cool in the original game, and I'm excited to see how much more advanced they can make it this time, in regards to pawn tactics and just in general the pawns, who were always very amusing. Does this next shot with the Cyclops take place where the maybe cleric character was earlier? The bridge was gone then, but here we see it being destroyed, knocking the poor ox down. I wonder how much role environmental destruction and physics will play in the game. I'm going to assume not a huge amount, but seeing any of it at all is interesting. Rift stones, and what is that? Emoting with your pawns? Swapping playableness with the pawns? Or is that two pawns interacting even though one of them looks like the Arisen? Along with a Medusa enemy in what looks a little like the Sphinx from Dragon's Dogma Online. And here's the thing, if we do go to another kingdom where maybe this cactus is, that is an opportunity to get different sorts of monsters from other parts of the world, other cultures, so to speak, such as a Sphinx. Then there's another shot of the griffin, and then we hear Grigori, or the dragon, I should say. Whilst the voice seems similar to Grigori, I'm not sure if it's meant to be the same voice actor. I think it was David Lodge, and I'm not sure if this is supposed to be Grigori. Presumably it is a different dragon, but as for the voice, I can't really tell. Either way, it's a dragon is the dragon, and they've brought back probably the best video game design dragon, or just one of my favorite dragon designs ever, to be honest. But as happy as I am to see that back, I do hope we get some more sort of dragony things too, even if they're just like, you know, the wyverns and the drakes and stuff. Finally, if I had to guess as to a plot, well, we know the game starts with you in a jail. The Duke figure in the throne is who I would assume to be the Mama Arisen, mentioned by maybe that Yennefer-looking lady. He's making false claims for his own self-serving purposes, and that'll play part of the political angle of the game. Maybe that's why you're in jail, because you're the true Arisen and he's put you down there, because he's like, get out of here. And then the player character, the true Arisen, needs to reclaim their heart and such. I mean, that's a vague guess, but I'm not going to speculate much on story for now, as... Overall, though, this trailer is very reassuring, as it looks exactly like what I wanted from a sequel to Dragon's Dogma. Almost. Because the official website says the game is single player, which is a bit of a shame, as I was really hoping there'd be some sort of multiplayer component, whether it's playing as your pawn in another player's world, or maybe like some endgame dungeons with multiplayer. I don't know, and maybe that will come in like a DLC or an expansion, but even if it's 100% single player, the first Dragon's Dogma is still one of my favourite games. And I would love to have seen how multiplayer works though, because I never got the chance to play Dragon's Dogma Online, as it was Japan only. But that aside, I can't wait to get my hands on it. Until next time though, thanks so much for watching, take care.